Have you ever had that feeling like you know someone, but you can't remember from where? Like your eyes recognize something your mind can't quite remember. I spent my whole life thinking it was just coincidence, those stories we make up to make the world less random. But I was wrong. Completely wrong. And the day I discovered it, it changed everything. My name is David, and I need to tell this story because it haunts me every day. Not in the bad sense of the word, but in the sense that it's always here, right beside me, breathing with me. It's a story about death, about love, and about something I never imagined could exist outside of movies. It's about how some connections are so strong that not even death can erase them. Let me rewind a bit. 3 years ago, I was living in Seattle, working at an architecture firm, leading that automatic life most of us lead. Wake up, coffee, work, gym, Netflix, sleep, repeat. You know that feeling of being alive but not really living? That's exactly what it was. I was 28 and felt like I was waiting for something, but I didn't know what. It all began on a typical Tuesday in October. I was on the subway home, tired, staring at my phone, not really seeing anything. And then she walked in, wavy brown hair, olive green jacket, yellow headphones. She sat across the car from me, and when our eyes met, man, I can't explain it. It was like all the air had been sucked out of the car. My heart started pounding so hard I thought I was having a heart attack. But it wasn't fear. It was recognition. It was that feeling of, where have you been all this time? Mixed with a deep sadness I couldn't understand. My eyes began to water for no reason. She was looking at me the same way, with the same confused and emotional expression. It was as if we were seeing each other after years of separation, but I was absolutely certain I had never seen that woman before in my life. She stood up. For a second, I thought she was going to come talk to me, but she got off at the next stop. She left quickly as if running away from something. I froze in my seat, shaking, trying to understand what the hell had just happened. I spent the rest of the night searching for rational explanations. Low blood sugar, stress, some actress I'd seen in a movie and forgotten, but nothing made sense with the intensity of it. For the next few weeks, I couldn't stop thinking about her. I started taking the subway at the same time every day, hoping to see that olive green jacket again. My friends started teasing me, saying I was obsessed with a stranger. And maybe I was. But it wasn't a normal obsession. It was as if my body knew something my mind didn't. Then, 6 weeks later, I saw her again. Same line, slightly different time. This time she was reading a book. I got up before my rational part could stop me and sat down next to her. My heart was pounding. She looked at me and I saw her hands start to shake. "This is insane," she said before I could say anything. "I know you, don't I?" Her voice was shaking. I know you." "I was thinking the same thing," I replied, "but I'm sure we've never met before." "Then why do I want to cry just looking at you?" she asked, and a tear actually ran down her face. We got off together at the next stop. We went to a cafe, and we spent 5 hours talking. Her name was Emma. She was 26, an art teacher, and had grown up in Boston. Our lives had no intersection, no logical connection, but the illogical connection, that was undeniable. "I dream about you," she confessed when it was dark outside. Or, "It's not exactly you, but it is. It's confusing. They're dreams from another time, you know? Old clothes, places that no longer exist, and it always ends the same way." My blood froze. "How does it end?" She looked down at the table, tears now falling openly. "With you dying in my arms, and I can't save you. I never can." I said nothing for a long time, because I had these dreams too. I'd had them my whole life. Dreams of a woman with Emma's face crying over me and me trying to say something important but unable to form the words. I always woke with a pain in my chest as real as anything physical. World War I, I finally said. In my dreams, it's World War I. There are trenches, mud, and you're dressed as a nurse. Emma's eyes widened. How do you know that? From that moment on, we stopped trying to rationalize. We started researching. Memory, regression, past lives. All those concepts I'd always dismissed as desperate nonsense. But the more we researched, the more things made sense. The inexplicable scars I'd had since childhood, her irrational fear of military hospitals, my terror of enclosed spaces and loud noises. We found a therapist specializing in hypnotic regression. I know. It sounds like a quack. Emma was skeptical too, but we decided to give it a try. What did we have to lose? The first session was with her. I stayed in the room, observing. The therapist, a woman in her 60s named Dr. Sarah Chen, guided Emma through a deep meditation. She began speaking in a different, younger voice, with a slight accent that wasn't her own. "My name is Eleanor," she said, eyes still closed. "Eleanor Wright. I'm a volunteer nurse. It's 1917. I'm in a field hospital near Ypres, Belgium." My entire body shivered. Dr. Chen continued asking questions, and Emma, or Eleanor, answered in vivid detail. She described the hospital tents, the smell of disinfectant mixed with mud and blood, the screams of the wounded soldiers, and then she began to cry. "He arrived today," she said. "The artillery soldier. He's so hurt. But his eyes, I know his eyes." "Who is he?" Dr. Chen asked softly. "Thomas. His name is Thomas Green. He's 23 years old, and I think I love him. I know I love him, but I don't know how. I just met him." When Emma came out of hypnosis, she was shaking and sweating. She looked at me with an expression I'll never forget. "Your name was Thomas," she whispered, "and I watched you die." The following week it was my turn. I was nervous, but also strangely anxious, as if I would finally understand something that had been missing my entire life. Dr. Chen guided me into the same deep state of relaxation, and then I was there. It wasn't a hazy memory. It was real. I could feel the pain in my chest, smell the wet earth, hear the distant sounds of bombing. I lay on a narrow bed, each breath an agony, and there was a woman holding my hand, brown hair tied in a bun, a nurse's uniform stained with blood and mud. "Emma. Eleanor. Don't leave me," I was saying, but my voice was weak. "I'll find you again. I promise. Somehow. I'll find you." "How?" She was crying, squeezing my hand so tightly. "How do I know it's you?" "You will know," I said, and I could feel the life draining from me. "Your eyes will know, your heart will know, and I will search for you. In every life. Until we make it again." And then I died. I felt her last breath, felt her tears falling down my face. I felt her screaming my name. And then, darkness. I woke up in Dr. Chen's office crying so hard I couldn't breathe. Emma was beside me, holding my hand, crying too, because she had just watched her former love die again, even if it was just a memory. Thomas died 3 days after arriving at the hospital, Dr. Chen said softly, showing us a laptop. "I did a quick search while you were processing. Thomas Green, artillery soldier, 23, died in December 1917 of shrapnel wounds. And Eleanor Wright, she was a volunteer nurse at the same hospital. She died 6 months later in the Spanish flu pandemic." The world stopped. We had evidence. It wasn't just dreams or imagination. We were real people who had loved and lost each other over 100 years ago. The following weeks were surreal. Emma and I became inseparable, but in a strange way. It wasn't like a normal relationship. It was as if we were trying to make up for a century of separation. We stayed up all night talking, sharing memories that came in fragments. She remembered little things about Thomas that I confirmed in my hypnosis sessions. I remembered details about Eleanor that she verified in her own flashbacks. We discovered that Eleanor had written in her diary about Thomas. We spent weeks searching and finally found digitized copies in an online war archive. There it was, in his own words. I met a soldier today who makes my heart recognize something my mind cannot understand. Thomas Green. It's as if my soul knew him before my eyes. And there were letters. Thomas had written 3 letters to Eleanor before he died. They were never sent. They were found among his belongings. In one of them he wrote, "If there is something after this life, I will look for you. I will find your eyes in a different face, and I will love you again." When we read this, Emma and I hugged and cried. Because he had kept his promise. I had kept my promise. Through death, through time, through the forgetting of all we were, something in us remembered. Something in us searched and found. But here's the part that still keeps me awake at night. It wasn't just death that separated us that time. Eleanor died 6 months after Thomas of the flu. But in her last diary entries, she wrote something that made us freeze when we read it. "I see Thomas in my dreams. He's waiting for me. He says it's not time yet, that we'll try again, that we'll find each other when the world is kinder." She knew. Somehow she knew this wasn't the end, and she was right. Today, Emma and I have been together for almost 3 years. We got married last month in a small ceremony near Puget Sound. We didn't invite many people because how do you explain that to others? How do you tell them you're marrying someone you were married to 100 years ago? But we don't need to explain it to anyone, because the truth lies between us, in every look, in every touch. We are Thomas and Eleanor finally getting the time they deserved. We are David and Emma building a life that wasn't torn apart by war and disease. We still have dreams sometimes, but now they're different. They don't end with death. They end with reunion, with promises kept, with the understanding that some souls are connected in ways that transcend any individual life. I don't know if everyone has this. I don't know if reincarnation is real for everyone or if we're some kind of anomaly. But I do know this. When you meet that person who makes your eyes water for no reason, who makes your heart ache with longing for something you didn't know you'd lost, don't let go. Don't rationalize. Don't be afraid to look crazy. Because maybe, just maybe, you're finding someone who's been searching for you through time. Someone who made a promise before they left. Someone whose love was strong enough to cross death, oblivion, and all the barriers that separate one life from another. Emma is in the kitchen now. I can hear her humming, making coffee. It's an ordinary Saturday morning. But for us, every ordinary morning is a miracle. It's a morning Thomas and Eleanor never had. It's time stolen from death. It's love that refused to end. And if there's one thing I've learned from all this, it's that death isn't the end. Not when love is real enough. Not when 2 people make a promise so deep it echoes through their lives. Death tried to separate us, and failed. So yes, 2 souls separated by death can meet again in another life. I am living proof of this. Emma is living proof of this. And every day, when I wake up next to her, I remember the promise I made over a century ago, in a muddy trench as I died in her arms. I said I would find her. And I did.